Good morning, everybody. So nice to see you here. Actually, we've been facing a bit of technical issues, so we are here on another new link, but glad that we could restart again. Now, for those of you who had the older link and were not able to view it, I promise I will share the recording of this on a platform so that you can access it and probably watch it whenever you have the time. But we would have loved to have you here. So I'm quickly going to introduce myself and a colleague of mine. I'm Fatima Asgar, and I had an organization called Evolved. I'm a certified parent consultant. I am a mindfulness educator and someone who works with kids, with parents, and with teachers. And before I could introduce my colleague over here, let me quickly set the intention. And with the kind of work that I do, I get a lot of parents who are coming up with questions, especially regarding children's sexuality and the fact that children are very uncomfortable about really talking about this with their parents. And there is a bit of questioning that happens from the children's side, saying whether I identify myself as another gender, or my sexual orientation is something that I'm kind of exploring right now. I'm not very sure. So these questions keep coming up, and parents have no clue on how to deal with that, how to answer that. And for many, it could just be a shock. Like, what do I do now that my child is coming up with questions like that? So the objective of having this conversation is to really start a very informal way. I'm a parent of two girls as well, so I understand how a parent feels when a child kind of comes up with questions like this, and immediately we tell ourselves it's confusion. Like, we tell ourselves that, okay, he's confused or she's confused, so that's the reason why. So we're here to clarify a few things from a parent perspective, and to do that, I have Shamira Pujani. And Shamira, maybe you can introduce yourself. That'll be better, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Um, so I'm a psychologist, and I've worked with Fatima for years together. And we've worked a lot. We've worked intensively on particularly this topic, on particularly personal safety and sexuality education. We've dealt with parents, we've addressed teachers, we've addressed students, we've addressed school students, college students, primary, secondary, high school, basically all across age group. And we've uh, and the intention today, like Fatima said, is going to be to clarify a few things, throw some light on this topic, and also help some very anxious parents, teachers, and even teenagers for that matter, as to how to go about this, what do we do, and where do we and who do we reach out to.
For sure, for sure. So I think exploring your sexual orientation is a very, very normal part for any human being, especially with teenagers today. So maybe this question is something that I'd like to ask Shamira: is why do we see that kids are really asking that question and questioning their gender or sexual orientation, and why do you think that's happening?
Uh, so it's not like a new phenomenon. It's something that has happened all the time, and it's something that's present in nature, very much present in nature. But it's only because of all the exposure that the children have today, and because of all the information that they have today, they have been able to question themselves, and they have been able to voice out their confusion or voice out their questions. That's the only difference. Otherwise, it's not like this new phenomenon that has started happening. It is something very natural, and it is something that has existed.
Correct. I agree with that. And also, I think a child questions his gender identity once he meets somebody who is also questioning their gender identity, right? So when he
Yeah.
looks at some videos and looks at some content that's available, and And then he's like, yeah, I mean, I feel more like that, so maybe I am that. And that's when the questioning starts to come in. And probably even in terms of, I wouldn't say experimentation, it's more of exploration, where they want to try out how it is to be like another gender, wear clothes. I remember one parent was super super anxious because
Hmm.
her son wanted to go with a girlfriend when a classmate was a girl,
Hmm.
and wanted to go girl shopping. So he wanted to buy
Hmm.
makeup and lipsticks and mascaras, and wanted to buy some dresses, and even was exploring lingeries. Can you imagine that? So the parent was
Hmm.
very very anxious about it, and like
Right.
he asked me, what do I do? What do I do? How
Hmm.
should I handle that? Is it something that is going to be, is my child leaning towards the other gender, or what is it, what's going to happen? So yeah, it is a very anxious thing, and this is something which is a normal part of really questioning your gender identity. And children are exposed, and there's a lot of talk around it, so obviously they will also talk and question, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. One thing I would like to tell parents is that it is something that is very, very natural, something that exists in nature. So when a fetus is, I can't recollect exactly what month is it or what week is it, but when a child is in the mother's womb and the brain is developing, there is this one particular time. So obviously the various functions are getting taped in the brain. Various functions, the ability to be able to walk, to be able to talk, all that, everything is happening, the brain is developing. There is one part of the brain where uh, it is decided whether this baby who grows up, whether that baby will grow up to feel like a girl or feel like a boy. Now, this is, I'm talking about feeling. It does not, irrespective of what the child's gender is, okay, irrespective of the sex of the child. So it is about feeling like a girl or feeling like a boy. And it is taped in the brain itself that when the child grows uh, old, and when the child hits puberty and adolescence, that's when the child will know whether it really feels like a girl or feels like a boy. So it's not something that just comes up out of the blue. It is something that is very very natural, and it is something that nature has made. But having said that, I also feel, and what I also have noticed is this whole bit of experimentation in children today. Because of the amount of exposure that they have, anyway, puberty and adolescence is a time where you question a lot of things about yourself. So they also, when they have exposure to this information, they also start to question, saying, uh, how do I feel? Do I really feel like a girl or do I feel like a boy? And they also want to explore new things. Novelty is something that is extremely, extremely important in that age. So it is also that. So it could either be A, it is already taped and it is decided by nature for your child, or B, the child is just experimenting, and because he or she has so much of exposure to the information out there, the child is questioning. That could also be a possibility.
Yeah, and also it's a cool thing to really talk about this, especially with kids
Yeah,
today, right?
absolutely.
It's
It's like
cool.
this
Like I
in
have a
thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's an in thing. So if my daughter talks about it, she slowly passes this question saying, what if I, like a
Hmm.
girl, then what? Because I have two daughters. So obviously, so they keep
Hmm.
checking on how, it is, because it's cool to talk
Yeah,
about.
how the parent would respond also,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And it's
Yes.
also a conversation that they have mostly with their friends, because that's the way they fit in with the others. So if someone identifies, even though they may be, let's, so A, they're not very confused. I think that is something that a
Hmm.
parent should understand, that there's the first reaction of a parent, which is a knee jerk one, is to actually say, hey, he's confused. Isko pata nahi hai,
Hmm.
so you're confused, so you don't know. And the moment you tell
Hmm.
that to a child that you're confused, he said, no, I'm not confused. I know how I
Hmm.
feel. You don't know how I feel, right? So
Hmm.
A is to stop, uh, somewhere. labeling that whole question as you are confused. So instead of that, I think really accepting, as you're asking about, you ask about the sun, you ask about different countries, you ask about animals, you're also asking me about this stage of yours where you're really questioning this is, and this is, it's absolutely fine to do that, you know. And I think that is something which I want the parent to know, is to really stop telling them that they're confused, usko pata nahi hai, and you know, and get like it.
Yeah.
They're just questioning. And this is something which I've noticed, Shamira. So maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
Children.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree
So
with you.
yeah, so children who are questioning, but not really leaning towards it, they're questioning, and which is like a normal question where they're trying to explore what is their gender, what is their sexual orientation. By the way, they're two different things, so which I think I'll leave
Yeah.
Shamira to kind of answer that. Now the ones who are questioning have a probability of really identify what their gender is after that stage of questioning is over, right? But
Hmm.
people who are, let's say, born with a different, not a different, but a sexual orientation, let's say it's more of a, they identify themselves as gays, for example, they remain very quiet. They remain very quiet. They don't really question. They only question and talk to people who they feel are going to be non-judgmental, and listen to them like counselors. They come there, and most often what they do is they hide these questions because they just want to get into that social norms. But normal children who are seeking information from somewhere, they will question their parents either this way or that way. We're not going there. So what I'm trying to say is that questioning is a very healthy thing. So let them question, because that really shows that the child is open enough, free enough to come and ask you and try something which you may feel is weird, but for them it's a very normal process of identifying themselves as people, right? Yeah, Shamira, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, since we're talking about gender and sexual orientation, let me give you a background and a few facts. So, whether you are, so when it comes to gender, whether you are biologically male or female, we can feel differently. Okay. And that's when you say a person, that's when that is exactly what you were talking about. You know, the boy who wanted to explore or who wanted to wear girls' clothes. Yeah. So, so say for example, if I am biologically a female, a girl, but I feel like a boy trapped in a girl's body. Okay. Now that is again, that is what I was talking about, that this gets taped in the child's brain when the child is in the mother's womb. So it is biological. Okay. It is physical, it is biological. Uh, So that's one. You can feel differently. Yeah. So you can, so if whether you are a girl or a boy, you can feel like the opposite sex. Yeah. So that's the feeling bit. That's the gender bit. Then sexual orientation is when you're attracted towards the opposite sex, or you're attracted towards the same sex, or you're attracted towards both. Now, in nature, there is nothing called 100% homosexuality or 100% heterosexuality. Yeah? We are all somewhere in between. No? For them who are attracted towards the same sex, then it is, we can say we are somewhere, we are more towards the heterosexuality scale. And the one who is attracted towards the same sex, then the person is more towards homosexuality. But there is nothing called 100% homosexuality or 100% heterosexuality. We are all in either more towards one or the other, or we are also sometimes in between. So there is, it's never 100%. And that's where the word exploration comes from. That's where the whole bit of, oh, you know, I'm still exploring, I'm still seeing how do I feel, or whether I am attracted towards the same sex, whether I'm attracted towards the opposite sex. That's where the whole exploration comes from, because the nature hasn't taped that for us. We're somewhere in between. It's never 100% this or that.
Absolutely. I think that is something which is super important for parents to know and also for children to know. I remember once
Yeah.
there was a young girl who wanted to do internship with us, and when I was explaining the whole space to her and this point came up, she refused to believe. She's like, no, 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 it can't be like that. So once you feel like in a certain way, that's how it's going to be. And so, yeah, so I think information out there is really boxing people, especially youths, and their mind to think that this is how it is. But I think when children are questioning is very different from coming out. No, this is something which I want the parents to know. So when they're questioning, it doesn't mean that they are coming out or, to whatever gender that they are facing. But I think something this information has really added to that stress for the kids, and they feel like this is how it is. So being in that questioning sort of phase is a very healthy one. So coming to that questioning, how is it that Shamira, maybe I can put this question to you.
Fatima, can you
Can you
hear
hear
me?
me?
I can't hear you. Your voice is
I can
suddenly gone.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
Oh, now can you hear me?
Can you
Am I
hear me?
audible now? Yes, I can. You can't hear me? Okay, this is strange. Wow. I have no clue what's happening.
All right, your voice is suddenly gone. Let me check.
Is it better now? Is it better now?
Still
Can
can't
you
hear
hear
you.
me now?
Should I log
Okay,
in
let me
again?
see. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, I don't know. We have a few people. Can you please tell me if you can hear me as well so that I know and we can continue? Uh, Today, I think we've just been really unlucky with technical issues. So I'm not very sure if you can hear me. If you can, just go on the chat box, please, and just write to me if you can. It really helps us to know if you can hear. Can you hear me now, Shamira? Can you hear me now?
Yes, just 1 second.
Can you hear me
Yes, I can
now?
hear you now. Yes, I can. I
Okay,
can.
I hope the audience also can hear us. So
Yeah,
continuing
I
with the
hope to.
conversation, yeah, I know we're just somehow unlucky today.
It's just,
Um,
yeah, I know, bad
I
day today.
know bad
Bad day
day, sorry
technology
for.
wise.
I know we could still have this conversation once again for the sake of the parents because I love talking about this. So now let's dive
Hmm.
down to the main points, which I think parents would want to
Hmm.
know. If their child comes to
Yeah.
them and say that I don't identify, he's a boy because
Hmm.
he was assigned a gender of a boy, but he feels more like a girl. So he's a transgender. So
Yeah.
how is it that, so we know that parents need to really create that safe space for children to come up, but how do I do that? I mean, what's your suggestion on that? How to create that safe space for children?
So honestly, it's going to be very ideal to talk about it. Ideally, how parents are supposed to respond. So obviously, I'm going to say, oh, you need to be supportive. You need to give them that space, and you need to do that. But the truth is that it will shock you. You know, the truth is there are possibilities where you will go through the whole cycle of why me, why is it happening only with me, why is it my child, or is it like you said initially, is it confusion, or is it someone is someone influencing my child, the weird things. So yes, so the initial reaction is definitely going to be like that. But what the parents need to realize is just because you don't accept it, it's not going to change. So whether you accept it or you don't accept it, if your child feels not like the rest of them, okay, it is going to be, that is how he or she is. No, whether you accept it, you don't accept it, it's not going to change. So you are only straining your relationship with your child. So yes, I understand it is difficult. Yes, I also understand. So I remember talking to this colleague of mine, and I had asked her, just like you, she also is a mother of two daughters, and I had asked her, what if your child comes up and tells you, this is how I feel, or I feel like a boy, or I'm attracted towards a girl and not a boy. How will you feel? She said, yes, I would want to accept it, and I will even accept it, but what will be my worry and what will be my major concern is the amount of struggle that my child may go through in the society. That is what is more of a concern for me. That yes, I know the society is still not very open. We are getting there gradually, but still it is not going to be as smooth as it would be for other children. So that was one of that was her major concern. So there are times where parents are accepting also. There are times where parents want to understand, but because of all the societal pressure and because of all the other things, because of the image that they have and all of that, it's difficult for them to accept it. But is it going to go away? No matter how much you keep praying, no matter how much you wish, it will not change. No?
Even
So
fixing it
yes,
up.
absolutely.
I think there's some problem at Shamira's, and we are just so unlucky today. So I think what Shamira was really trying to say is um, really fixing it, pushing it away is not going to solve the problem. I think before you allow a child and give him that open space, I think it's important for you to have that open space as well. So because as parents, we do visualize our children. Welcome back, Shamira. You were frozen for some time, but you're back.
It's
Can you hear
again
me now?
gone. I think it's my
Okay. It
internet
seems like,
connection. I don't
yes,
know
I think it's your internet connection.
what's wrong.
Yeah,
I tried, okay, let me just try switching. I tried switching, but
do that. Do that. So I think what meanwhile Shamira tries to get what she can do. So basically, it's about before we create space for our children. I think it's important for us to create space for ourselves. And as parents, we have dreams of how they're going to grow up and who they're going to marry and how they're going to live in a society. So obviously, this is something that's going to really break those dreams. So really give yourself that space and step out a little bit and talk to people. If you have a community, you can connect with them, or if you have a friend, if you have an expert like who is available for you. Welcome back, Shamira. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
right. You just sound lucky today.
I
I'm just
know.
smiling. I'm just smiling today.
I know.
So
It's just the whole bit of, something that we keep talking about and something that we keep reminding ourselves that there are certain things that are not in our control. And no matter
absolutely.
how much you want to control it, you cannot make it right. So, yeah. So,
Right, right.
hmm.
So right from the internet connection to how our children will feel, it's
Absolutely. It's
not in
not
our
in our
control.
control.
if
Yes.
they if they want to explore being a gay before they actually realize they're straight, I mean, this is something that is their journey, and they're going to do it irrespective of us getting in or not.
Of
So
whether you
somewhere,
like it, you don't
I
like it,
think
you accept it, don't accept it.
so.
Yeah.
Just smile. I know it's hard. This is hard for us as well. So I was smiling the way through when you were off, because I know this is something which is not in our control. So I was like, okay, it
Yeah.
is what it
Yeah.
is. So yeah, no, I was just telling the parents that I think it's important for us to give ourselves some space, because as parents, we dream a lot about them. Who will they marry? What are they going to do? We even have
Right.
these dreams of lavish weddings that they may hold. And children
Yeah.
just come
Yeah.
and say, "Hey, you know what? That's your dream, not mine. That's your journey,
Not
not
mine.
mine."
Yeah.
So that can be
Right.
something that is very difficult for a parent to just step
Right.
behind, step back, step aside, and talk to
Yeah.
experts, talk to not family, but maybe someone that you can trust,
Yeah.
and really
Seek
work on
help,
your own
basically.
anxiety. Yeah, as parents,
Right.
you seek
Right.
help, like instead
As
of,
parents. Right.
and of course then
Definitely.
open out and just be open enough. If you cannot start a conversation now. If you feel like you're on that extreme of not really have accepted some questions which the child is making, it's okay to tell the child, saying, I'm still processing it, I'm not ready to answer that question right now, but I will definitely come back to you. And maybe even if you want, divert and ask the child or connect the child with an expert who can help them, who can be very neutral
Right.
in terms of
Right.
how you can answer, rather than you questioning and you answering. Why are you thinking like that? You're not like that. Khandan ki izzat, khandan mein koi nahi hai. What is that going to happen? That is definitely not going to help. The child, in fact, will stop communicating with you. So yeah, you
Right.
step back
Right.
and say, if
So
you're not
tell me,
ready. Hmm, go ahead.
yeah, no. So as a parent, so I'm not a parent. So at least as a parent, tell me,
Yeah.
how would you handle this situation? Say one of your daughters have to come and tell you. So two scenarios. One of your daughters have to come and tell you that all my life I've felt like that I've dressed like a girl. I've been a girl because you brought me up like a girl, but now I feel like I don't think I feel like a girl, and I want to explore how it feels to be a boy, and I want to start dressing up like a boy, and I want to I want to see how it feels to be a boy. So how do you think, are you going to how would you respond to it?
My
A,
daughters have
yes, how
already
would you
experimented.
respond to it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How will you respond to it, with regard to how will you respond to the child, your daughter? And B, how would you tackle um, the world around? Because if your child is going to start dressing up differently, dressing up as the other gender, the other sex, how will you how will you basically handle the whole thing?
Okay, so my daughters have, both of them have experimented with these questions with me. So they've tried it out. So my older one, I remember
Huh.
asking me, what if I fall in love with a girl? Then what? Would you still accept?
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Or, I mean, she keeps asking a lot of, so I remember. So honestly, it was very shocking for me. It was like,
Hmm.
I kind of became numb. I'm like, okay, so, and I wanted to question more, like, why are you feeling that? Why is this question coming? Are you actually a lesbian? Do you identify yourself? So, but I maybe because of the kind of work that I do, I was very quiet, and I said, well, I, don't have the answer right now. I don't know how I'm going to feel. So just give me a day, and maybe when we have a next conversation, that's what I told her. I said, when we have the next
Hmm.
conversation, maybe I'll come back with an answer for you. So that way, I'm not
Okay.
lying. I'm not saying that, hey,
Hmm.
I'm a cool parent. Oh, it's okay, you can explore, because honestly, um, it was a little shocking for me. It took me by surprise
Right.
because the question just came up abruptly. So it did. But then
Hmm.
after a day, after 1 or 2 days, I kind of settled with that question. And I then asked her, saying, Beta, do you identify yourself as someone who is more leaning towards, the sexual orientation wise, more towards lesbian? So she said, no. I was just asking the question. So I said, okay, but if you are, and if you want to talk to someone who's an expert in this, then maybe, because I was a mother, so she wouldn't like to talk to me about it. I said, I can put you
Right.
across. She
Right.
said, no, मैं तो अच्छे check कर रही थी. I'm
Huh.
not like that.
Yeah. So
And
yes,
honestly,
the
after that,
kids are also testing. Yes.
I felt relieved after that. In a way, I shouldn't be also saying that. So I did
Yeah.
feel that
Yeah.
sense of relief, but
So, what about the
uh,
world outside? As a parent, how would you deal with the world outside, Fatima? So, I'll tell you what, I think for most of the parents, it's not so much about how do I deal with my child. Somewhere, maybe because I love my child, I will even accept it. And I will accept her or him the way he is, and how the way they want to be, and the way they want to live their life. But it is more about, uh, you know, what about the world outside? It's
yeah.
more about how am I going to face the world outside. So how would what would you suggest parents to do?
Well,
That
I think
how would they face that?
so. How a child feels, in terms of gender wise or even sexually, how that child feels is not my. It's in my not in my control, and to be honest,
Not
I'm
in
using
mind,
the word.
right?
It's not. I'm not responsible for that. So you may feel like, why
Hmm.
me? What did I do? That my child is feeling like this and asking question, kya ho gaya kam bakhat, meri shayad parvarish mein koi kami ho gayi hogi. Maybe I've pampered the child.
Yeah.
But honestly, it is not it's not, I'm not responsible for that. It is just something which
Right.
is a normal course, which they will eventually find out where they are headed.
Hmm.
Or maybe the child
Right.
very strongly feels like that because he's born like that, right? So whatever it may be, I think I have to really get, really decide mentally that my child's feeling is important to me and I'm not responsible for
Hmm.
that. So if my child wants to explore dressing like a boy, I should just allow that. And maybe also
Okay.
talk to her about setting standards and expectations. Basically, I'll say, hey, you don't want to dress like a
Hmm.
boy, go ahead. When you're cycling with your friends at home, go ahead and do it. If I don't have
Hmm.
that courage.
Hmm. Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you're, let's say,
Yeah.
going
That
to
is
a
what
wedding,
I want to
if
know.
you're going to a
Right.
big social gathering and a wedding, I'll just say,
Hmm.
hey, maybe if you are comfortable, if you're feeling okay, then you can dress up something like that. If the child feels, no, I'm not comfortable coming in the gender that I'm in, I'll say, okay, stay back. Or probably I'll just have
Hmm.
to build up that courage to accept that my child is going to be dressed like a boy and come for a wedding. So these are the only three
Right.
options that I have. So I'll explore
Hmm.
all the three. I'll say this one, maybe for a wedding you could dress this, but if the child is uncomfortable and say, no, I'm not going to do that, I'll respect that. If the child doesn't want to come to the wedding, I'll say don't come at all, or otherwise I'll just have to build up that, muster up my courage to get the
Right.
child to
Right.
dress up the way they want, because that's who
Right.
they are. So I wouldn't
And what
break
do you
their
do
identity.
when there is a when there is this whole thing between the parents? Say mother's accepting or father's accepting, one of the parent is not accepting. Then what do you do? Then how do you how do you tackle that as a parent coach? I'm asking you this. How would you then
Oh, as a parent
tackle
coach.
that? Yes. Yes.
Well, I think if you are one of those parents who is accepting and maybe your partner or your husband isn't accepting, then a lot of times talking to that. So there are two kinds of people that I find: someone who's very very close and someone who's slightly open about it. So
Hmm.
if I'm
Okay.
supposing my partner, my husband is very very closed about it, I know I don't want to bang my head to something that is very, someone who's very very rigid with their thoughts, because that's a waste of my time. I have so much to deal with
Hmm.
myself, right? So I rather focus on my relationship with my child and support him in any ways, and probably then see the time and maybe suggest that the husband sees, if it's a man, if it's a husband, sees like a help
Hmm.
and see how it is and work it out. So I'm just going to create that balance between husband and the son, or daughter or my child, so that I can not really dismiss how my child is feeling, but at the same time I know I cannot change someone's mind. It's like breaking my head to a wall, so I
Right.
can't do that. So I'll
Right.
just
Right.
give
But it
information
can
to
be
my
very
child.
challenging, right? When
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, when your partner is not okay with whether it's the wife or the husband, whether when one of them is not okay with the whole scenario, and it can definitely be very stressful for the partner
Absolutely.
as well as the child. So
Yeah, but
it's
it's
not
important
it's not
for
so easy.
absolutely, but
So
it's
I know
important
it's
that
very
you
easy for us to talk and say and give ideal scenarios and give ideal suggestions. It is difficult, but it is the way it is. So yeah.
absolutely. But it is important that a wife doesn't keep quiet about it. I always suggest
Hmm.
the mother, if the mother is the one who's accepting, to go and at least inform, the partner about how the child is feeling, but maybe not have repeated conversations if you feel he's not ready for it. But what's more
Yep.
important right now is to focus on the child and see if the parent, the other partner, needs some support and some talking a little later on, because it can be too shocking even
Right.
for the father, right? So just give
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is difficult for sure, for sure. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, Shamira, this question is for you. So, supposing if it's a parent and the child comes and says that um, I'm a transgender. And I know that a lot of this exploration can actually end, I would say, end a little sooner if the parent provides that support to the child. Because if you don't, then
Right.
obviously they're going to, go out and probably explore and things which may not be very healthy for them, right?
Hmm.
So, and
Hmm.
also the fact that these questioning will not, you can't really answer these questions in a day or two. It's like a series. It takes maybe months or years at some times to even get the child to understand who he is. And so my question over here is, if you are a parent, and if a child comes and tells you that I want to do this, I want to explore with, let's say, different gender, for example. And I know it's very tough to do it, but what is that initial reaction like? What should the parent tell the child? I'm
Uh,
talking about the dialogue.
I feel yes, yes. So I feel yes, A is of course, be supportive, but instead of the very first thing is not to freak out. So I feel it's more to do with it could be the parent, the child is trying to see what the parent reaction is, just like how your daughter did. Either it
Yes.
could be that, or the child is genuinely experimenting because there is so much information out there, and there is just so much exposure out there. So there are possibilities where the child is confused, and the child says, like for example, say uh, I have a group of friends. They all have a crush on some or the other boy. I have a group of friends who are girls and they all have a crush, but I still don't have a crush. So, is it possible that I'm not attracted towards anyone of the opposite sex? So, is it possible that I may not be attracted in the future as well? That could be one of the questions. Yeah. So, instead of freaking out, see where is it coming from? No, instead of freaking out, see where is it coming from. Because one thing that I've also noticed while interacting with all these students and while interacting with teachers, uh, is that because of the exposure that they've received, there is also this whole bit of novelty. So as adolescents anyway seek for novelty. That is what uh, their mind, that is what their brain, the developing brain needs. It feeds on novelty. So they want to experiment something else. They want to experiment something that's exciting, not the regular stuff. Okay. So being
Yeah.
attracted towards the opposite gender would be in a regular stuff, and probably the same gender would be something more exciting and something more, something that they may want to explore or experiment with. Yeah. Also, could also be because of boredom, because today's even 5-year olds, 6-year olds get bored very easily. Boredom is something that they feel like they've been exposed to everything, so they don't know how to bring excitement in their lives. So it
Yeah.
could also be because of that. And when I say it could be because of that, it could be because of boredom. I'm not saying your child is wanting to, or your child is attracted, your child is not um, a homosexual, and that it can be reversed. I'm not indicating that at all. Okay. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there are various possibilities. Explore what is it. Instead of freaking out, question. And if you think you are too freaked out to question, look for someone who will be able to support you. Look for a psychologist, look for a friend who understands that better, look for a teacher, or someone like Fatima who's a parent coach. So explore, ask, ask questions. If you yourself cannot ask questions, seek help of someone who can speak to, or someone who can communicate with your child instead of just freaking out. No? So
Right.
I would
Right.
say just don't freak out is what I
Don't
would
freak out.
suggest
At least
parents. Yeah,
pretend
just don't
that you're
freak
not
out.
freaking. At least
At
pretend that
least
you're not
pretend you're not
freaking
freaking out. Yeah. I
out.
think
Against that,
parents
you
get
may be
very
just
good with
freaking.
that, not
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're
freaking
very
out.
good with acting. So let's pretend that we're not freaking
Acting that
out.
you're not freaking out.
So,
Yeah.
I'll just, for the sake of a discussion over here, let me give you a sort of a storyline, what I'm coming to. So there was this one boy who was in 10th grade
Mhm.
who came and told the mother one day that I want to change my gender, and I
Mhm.
want to do hormonal therapy. I want to completely get out of my body because I don't want to feel about it. And so the mother was
Right.
very, very shocked. And she came and she asked me, what can I do? Because my child is now talking about hormonal therapy and he wants to get in for HRT. And, so I said, how did you respond? So she said, well, I said it's very expensive. And your body's not ready for it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, in a way, I'm happy that
Yeah.
she said,
Yeah,
is
it's actually a good thing. Instead of freaking out, at least she said it's expensive. She didn't say, "Oh, shut up," and something's wrong with you. Yeah.
you can't think about it and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
then I said, next, what did you tell? What was the next thing you said? Oh, your dad's not going to agree for it. And is it something that you want to do? And, she got into a very serious sort of discussion. So,
Hmm.
मैं क्या करूं? What do I do? Because the child now wants to do it. So basically what I told the mother is to help the child to come up with HRT is like a big decision, which takes a lot of
Hmm.
time, and of
Hmm.
course his body should be ready for it. And that boy was so intelligent. He brought out all the information. Oh, ma'am, mom, I can
Yeah,
do
of
this over
course.
here. It's okay.
Yeah,
This
yeah, yeah.
hospital does it. This is how much it is. So I said, okay, we'll get there. So I told her to actually talk, and this parent was quite relatively open. So I said, okay, talk, have a conversation, and say, let's go one by one. Since you want to, that's like a
Hmm.
big step, right? So let's take one step at a time. Let's take baby step. I said, what would you want to do? So she came back to me and she said, oh, he wants to go and try out some saris. So I said,
Hmm.
okay. So what do you think he should
Yeah.
do? So he says, let him go try out saris. I said, fabulous. Let him go. Let him
Hmm.
try out. If he wants to try saris, and then next what he wants to do, he wants to try makeup, and then what he wants to do, he wants to get into sort of a fusion dress. Maybe he wants to talk and be with other community. Let him be. So it did happen for a couple of months, but after that, the conversation of
Hmm.
HRT stopped. And I
Okay.
believe that he's focusing more on his studies right now, and that conversation of how I feel has come down. So I'm not getting why
Hmm.
I'm not getting at why that happened. We're not really
Right.
sure about
Right.
it.
You never know. Yeah.
You never know. So the reason why I'm telling you this is for all the parents as well. If the child wants to explore, like there was another parent who says, "I give me 2,000 rupees because I want to buy makeup." And during
Hmm.
especially during COVID, because kids were at home, maybe they're just so
Oh,
curious about
yeah,
so much.
definitely. Yes,
So
yes,
they've
absolutely.
been
I feel
testing and
COVID
trying.
has a huge role to play over here because the children were bored
And they were
and they didn't
watching
know what to
and
do. They
they
were
didn't know
watching
what
a
to
lot of
do.
things and they wanted to experiment. And of course, it could also get triggered by that also. There's a
Yeah,
possibility, yes.
and also because they were not there was no going out, so that physical venting of
Right,
energy is not there. So there's a lot of pent up
right.
things. So the yin and
Yeah.
yang was at a conflict. Let's put it in that way.
Hmm.
So the
Yeah,
child was like, the child was like, give me 2,000 rupees because I want to buy good quality makeup. So the
makeup.
parent was like, what do I
Hmm.
do? I was asking for 2,000 rupees. I said, well, if he wants to buy makeup, what is your opinion? She said, yeah, let him. Yeah, it's okay. He'll go. I said, yeah, but 2,000 is too much, no? So I said, set a boundary.
Yeah.
Set a boundary. So like set a limit to that. So then the parent
Hmm.
apparently gave 500 rupees. So he ended up buying one lipstick and something that goes with that. And he came
Hmm.
and he tried out. So I mean,
Hmm.
really give that space because children want to. If they're
Absolutely.
not doing it in front of you, they will do it in your at your backs. And
They'll
that is
anyway do it. They'll anyway do
well,
it. So
anyway,
it's better
exactly.
either you support it, you don't support it, they'll anyway do it. They'll anyway live them. Or it can also be, they can also go to the other extent of just suppressing all their feelings and suppressing
Yeah.
all that they feel and just penting it up. And as a result, ruining their life, ruining the way they feel, and it will obviously keep coming up in their lives. They will not be able to accept themselves the way they are because there is a possibility of them also being uncomfortable or them also feeling weird about it. I don't know
Yeah.
how is it that the person would feel. So yeah, so definitely you need to be more child centric when it comes to this, yes, and look at what the
And
child is going through.
I think it's very important for parents to also know that it's not only teenagers. I find a lot of adults also very still confused about their sexual
Oh,
orientation. So I'm talking about
mm.
people in their late
Yeah, of
20s
course.
to 30s. they're still very confused whether I need to fall here, I need to fall there. They marry and then they realize that they are, not straight, and then, or even the way they feel about themselves, that they've, been in a girl's body, felt like a, not felt like a girl, but in the girl's body, and suddenly they realize that,
Yeah.
I don't feel like that. So it's not only
Yeah.
related to children, even adults are a lot of times questioning, and it's something which is like
Absolutely.
a lifelong thing, right? I've met a lot of adults
Yeah,
like that.
absolutely. I feel one of the things that we need to do as a society is just change the word normal. What do you mean by normal? Okay. So just because it's majority of us feel a particular way, we call that normal. And because there is a small group of people who feel a particular way, that's abnormal. Okay. It is normal whether you feel this way or that way. There is nothing abnormal about it. No, I think that is one thing that we need to start uh, changing about this, is that there is not normal
Terminology.
and abnormal or not normal. Yeah, these terminologies that we use, it's just that majority of them accept it, majority of them are one way, and there is a group who's the other way as well. No?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and it's
that's,
okay. So instead of just asking the child not to go, by the way, I must tell all the parents who are watching over here that my older daughter works at her university in a project where she's making it inclusive for all genders and all communities to come together. So she does work under a lot of pressure there. And when I say pressure, because I do come from a family which is very, very conservative, so they don't accept the kind of work that she does. And when they came to know, they were not in favor of what she does,
hmm,
but because of the
yeah,
community and religion and all that, a family that I come
yeah,
from. But I have stood by her and said, well, if this is something that you strongly feel, go ahead and do it. And so my
hmm,
family is like, what if she gets influenced and she decides? And I said, when she decides,
yeah,
she decides. I mean, what
hmm,
am I going to do anyways? I can't go. So, children are
yeah,
here to really walk on their journey, and they will do it eventually. And we just have to give them that bracket of being healthy, and don't go into exploration that is the consequence of this is going to
and being
be
safe,
lasting for a life.
right?
Yeah, for a lifetime. Just being
Safe,
safe in the
yeah,
exploration. If
yeah.
you can answer their questions, if you can help them, fair enough. Otherwise, just direct them to someone. And please do not push away. If your child comes and questions you, do not push away saying, stop it, we don't talk about it, or you're too young to know
Hmm.
about it. No, there's nothing like too young, because they are getting exposed to so much of information. So they will come. If your 6-year-old child also comes and asks you, am I really a boy? But I do feel, because I play with toys, so am I a girl? Maybe it may happen. So if that happens, you need to be ready to answer, or otherwise just divert them into with to experts who will answer those questions for you. And it's important that that's done. So, and today, right
Yeah.
now, my younger one is gone for a pride sort of event, and she is taking part over there. And so it's a part of their journey, and this is how adolescents work today. And like I said, it's a
Yeah,
cool thing to do.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, parents, I think we will wind up here. The whole idea over here is just to
Yes,
start the conversation. And I know it's very tough. If you talk to an expert, they'll say, be that cooperative, supportive parent, but it's very, very difficult to do that. So,
right,
get somebody
right.
who will help you create that space with yourself, and really be flexible enough to at least support the child. So if you cannot support, at least don't push the child away, and build
Exactly. So if you
walls.
cannot support, like I've known families who have not been okay with their child, um, the child's choices, but at least they haven't accepted it completely, but at least they haven't shunned the child also completely.
Shut the
At
child.
least that
Yeah,
hasn't happened, yeah,
yeah,
at least don't shun the child saying, okay, you're going to be an outcast sort of a thing. So
yeah,
if
yeah.
acceptance is not coming that easily, fine, take your time, but at least at some level show that support as a parent, because that's what a parent is supposed to do. So yes.
Yeah, yeah. And also, it's also important that if a child, let's say a teenager comes and asks you this question. So it's important for you to remain quiet about it. I mean, don't go spreading the word to everybody. Like even questioning someone and saying, आजकल के बच्चे ऐसे हो गए हैं, these kids today are questioning this. This is what my son asked me. Because it takes a lot of courage for a child to come and ask a parent such questions, right? And if he
Right.
hears that you are taking it very lightly, like passing it as a conversation to, let's say, your bua or cousin, or "Haha, look at him, yeah, he's asking him," something like that. That really creates a sort of trauma for the child,
Hmm.
because the child has trusted you and asked you a very important question. It's a life enhancing question to you. And if you go and talk about it, even though our intention is, because we don't take it very seriously, we think it's a passing by sort of question, but whatever it may be, uh, really keeping it confidential, uh, so that the child trusts you again, comes back, that is very important. So do not
Yeah.
talk about this. And the more you talk about it, the more the child will, is get away from you, will not confess in anything that's happening in his life. You
Right.
won't
Do
know
not
at all.
gossip about it. I don't think a lot of parents would even gossip about it, but yeah, there is a
No, they
possibility.
do. They
Yeah.
do. There is.
Yeah,
There,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I
There is a
know.
possibility. Yes.
There is. Yeah, because they think like ये
Hmm.
नालायक है, इसको पता नहीं है.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kambakat,
Yeah.
he doesn't know what he's saying. This is
Yeah.
आजकल
Yeah.
के बच्चे. So no, it's not
Yeah.
आजकल के बच्चे. Don't take it too lightly and
Hmm.
not really gossip, but just mention it also, because they really take
Yeah.
it to the heart.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just keep it quiet. Inform your husband. If the husband is there, then please do inform your wife about it. Just keep it within your family till the child gets that clarity. And then, and of course, with his permission, please, connect him to an expert so that they can answer that question for him. But otherwise, do not talk behind their backs.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Shamira, for your time. And we didn't want to
Thank
make
you.
it
Thank
like
you
a
so much. It was
presentation.
wonderful.
So we didn't want to
Yeah.
keep it like a presentation. We just wanted to have a conversation around it. And there are some things you
Yeah.
just have to smile at. And when you can't smile, then you just have to reach out to people who will help you. So yeah, you can still reach us on Facebook. We are available on Insta. Shamira is also available on Insta, and you can always follow us. If you have any questions, you can privately write to us. So the email that you can that you can use is info@evolveed.in. In case if you are going through something, if there's a question you can't answer, you can write to us, and we will help you help your child. So, till we meet next time, thank you so much. And my dear
Thank you.
audience, thank you so much for your patience. I know we had a little bit of a technical
Oh,
problem today, so on and
yeah.
off, but your time really matters to us. So, thank you so much, and see you around again for another conversation. So, have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, everyone.